Matt?
So that's it?
I could go on, I'm sure.
Sure, if you want to.
No, I'm
Okay. All right, so just firstly, I'm curious because I don't understand what this declaration does that's any different than what was done in Bucharest in 2008, where NATO members said the exact same thing, that Ukraine and Georgia will become members of NATO once certain conditions are met.
Let me,
And
oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
what you said is exactly the same thing as what was said, what, 17? My math is bad. 16? How many years ago was that?
2006, 17,
2008.
2008, 15.
Yeah. It sounds exactly the same.
I will note a number of differences. One, that we have removed the map as a step that Ukraine needs to fulfill because of the.
The map laid out conditions and requirements for Ukraine to get membership.
And
so that's one thing. And now you're saying, okay, well, there's no more map, but they still have conditions that they have to meet. So what's
what I was going to.
And then the other thing is, what about Georgia?
What I was going to say is with respect to the removal of the map, it is a recognition of the strides that Ukraine has made in the last number of years, but particularly since the beginning of the full-scale invasion in becoming increasingly interoperable and politically integrated with Ukraine. You've seen Ukrainian forces being trained by NATO states. You've seen the provision of
Interoperable with NATO.
interoperable with NATO. Yeah, you've seen NATO states providing
Well,
military
then what
assistance.
specifically are these conditions that still need to be met?
So there are a number of conditions around anti-corruption, around strengthening democracy. I'm not in a position to
All those were in the map.
I would say I'm not in a position to detail them specifically, but Ukraine itself has detailed them publicly, conditions it needs to meet. And what we are making clear is that NATO members stand ready to help them meet those conditions, as we have been helping them strengthen their military. And
You stood ready to help them in 2008 as well, and then Georgia was invaded, and then Crimea was annexed, and now we have this war going on.
And I'm certainly not going to speak for what happened between 2008 and the beginning of the Biden administration. I will speak for the Biden administration and what our plans are and what our plans have been since the beginning of this conflict, which is to help NATO.
I don't understand if you simply just take away 3 letters, MAP, map, right, and still say that there are conditions that have to be met, and you're still not giving them a definite timeline for even an invitation, much less actual membership. I don't understand how that changes anything since 2008, except that they have lost Crimea. They've lost a semi-significant portion of territory in the east.
I think it's important. I think it's important that we are noting that they have made significant progress, and that we are ready to extend an invitation when conditions are met. But I do want to take a step back and say, but I also we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that they are in a war with Russia right now. There is
losing sight of that
no, I
at
just
all.
say, as the president made clear, there is an important reason why they are not becoming a member of NATO right now, because it would instantly put the United States in a shooting war with Russia.
The idea that, and you've seen President Zelensky, he was not happy about this morning. You've seen his comments. But the idea that NATO is giving some gift to Ukraine here, I don't get, because it seems to me the same gift that was given in 2008, which then ended up with Georgia losing Abkhazia and South Ossetia, and Ukraine losing Crimea and parts of the Donbass. So I don't understand that. So, and then the other thing I just wanted to ask you was, well, what about Georgia and all this? Are they just the forgotten?
I don't have any updates with respect to Georgia, but I do want to say one more thing about Ukraine, which is I certainly wouldn't describe this as a gift at all. We are making these commitments to Ukraine because Ukraine itself has shown that it has made important reforms, and I will add, though, there has made important democracy reforms. It has made important reforms to its military.
But you just said that they needed to do more.
And both of those things can be true. Okay. They've made important reforms, and there are still steps. Just one second, Said. that they need to take. But I think the other point that I don't want to be lost is that the question around NATO membership itself is not the only important thing coming out of this summit. Can never lose sight, this is what I started to say a minute ago, that they are in a war with Russia, and we continue to provide them the security assistance they need to help them win that war. That is job number one, more important than anything else. Job number two is to provide them with the long-term security assistance so they can rebuild their defense sector to provide a long-term deterrent effect. And then as part of that, we are going to continue discussions with them about meeting the reforms that we believe they need to accept. And not just we, the United States, but all NATO members believe they need to make to become a full member.
I just want clarification. The president said that as long as there's war, Ukraine is not going to become a member as long as the war is going on. What if the war goes on for another 10 years or 12 years? And the wars, recent wars have gone on for a very long time.
I do not want to get into hypotheticals about how long this war may or may not take. Our goal continues to be, as it has been from the beginning, to supply Ukraine with the security assistance it needs to win this war as quickly as possible, as well as to continue to hold Russia accountable for its actions. Yeah.
A couple of points, Matt. Just to go back to your exchange with Matt, you said that the whole point about war with Russia, we're talking about invitation. Invitation is not Article 5, is it?
I'm sorry.
We're talking about lack of invitation.
My point is it would not be appropriate to admit Ukraine at this time to NATO while it's in a war. That would then mean the United States would be in a war with Russia, something President Biden has made clear from the outset would not happen under his leadership.
I get that, fair point. But there's a difference between admitting and putting together a timetable. Ukrainians are unhappy. I'm sure you're not surprised to hear that they are very happy to make it out loud. They are unhappy because this lack of invitation will encourage Putin to continue doing what he has been doing since 2008.
A few things to that. One thing I would say is that we have always understood why President Zelensky and other members of the Ukrainian government and other members of the Ukrainian public make the requests to the United States and to NATO and to other countries that they do. Their country has been invaded. They've seen they've seen civilian infrastructure attacked. They've seen thousands of their fellow citizens die. We certainly understand where they're coming from, and if we were in their shoes, you can expect that we would be making the exact same requests. We still, as the United States and as a member of NATO, have the responsibility to make appropriate decisions on behalf of the United States, and of course, NATO as an alliance, 31, soon to be 32 members have the responsibility to make appropriate decisions on behalf of the alliance. So with respect to whatever calculation Vladimir Putin might make, he only has to look at the security assistance we have already provided to Ukraine to help deter Russian attacks, security assistance that they have put to great use on the battlefield. And then I will make one final comment, which is one of the things Russia said before this war began is that they were firmly opposed to Ukraine joining NATO, and they wanted an ironclad commitment that Ukraine would never join NATO. And we made clear that was not on the table, that we maintained NATO's open door policy. We reiterate that commitment today, and we made clear today that Ukraine will become a member of NATO.
Two more points on that, Matt. One of the things you said repeatedly since the war began, that you will never discuss Ukraine without Ukraine. I understand you understand Zelensky, but Zelensky or now Ukrainian leaders were in the room when this decision was made. Why on earth would all these points be spelled out without Ukraine in the room?
So a few things about that. Number one, we have extensive ongoing conversations with President Zelensky and other members of the Ukrainian government. Secretary Blinken has talked to Foreign Minister Kuleba several times in just the past few weeks. President Biden is going to meet with President Zelensky tomorrow. Other members of NATO countries have met with President Zelensky both in Kyiv and in their own capitals. We will continue to have conversations. We are well aware of the requests that Ukraine has, both bilaterally to the United States, and I won't speak on behalf of other members, but I'm quite certain that they're clear of the requests Ukraine has for them and the requests that it has for NATO. But of course, when NATO meets to make decisions that are NATO decisions, those are decisions that can only be made by the existing alliance members.
My final question on Georgia, back to my question on Georgia. Was Georgia sidelined because of its pro-Russian government, and is the country off the rail?
I just don't have any updates with respect to Georgia. Go ahead, Kylie.
So